Hello and welcome to Michael's Minty Music for today. Today we review INXS's debut self-titled album released in 1980. It's really great, a super outstanding album in my opinion, and a really incredible debut. This is the track listing, and these are the tracks I added to my playlist. 7 out of 10, so 70% here. This album is really great in my opinion. I really love it. It's just pretty much peak sort of Australian new wave. Every song is quick, upbeat, and very synthy. Imagine early Duran Duran, but with a slightly harder rock feel. The songs are all just pretty good, even though they are all pretty similar. The band does still do some interesting sort of different things on some specific tracks, but it never strays too far from the quick new wave style. There are basically no slow songs here, and thus the flow is high energy the entire time. This does end up working really well. Their later albums would have some slower stuff, and it doesn't always work there in my opinion. So they really sort of did the safer option by just going all the way. The album's incredibly quick, but it's still incredibly consistent and manages to be pretty interesting despite the fact that there's kind of only one song here. Almost all the songs are kind of just iterations on the same. There's still differences, but they're all kind of the same. But they're all good, so. As I mentioned, the genre is basically pure new wave. They've got a rock bass with extra keyboard synths and the occasional saxophone or other instrument. But really an incredible album in my opinion. One of my favorite albums of all time. Probably one of the best debuts ever. If you don't particularly like new wave though, you probably won't like this album, but that's pretty much the only major strike against it, that it doesn't have a lot of variety. The sound they have here is definitely incredible though. There was only one single released before the album, Just Keep Walking, which was popular in their native Australia, I believe. My favorite song here though, probably the final track, Wishy Washy, just has the best feel to it. Even though Just Keep Walking, I would say, might have better lyrics. Jumping is also a standout hit here. I rank this album second out of all of INXS's albums. I really feel this is one of their best. Even though it's a debut and it's pretty unpolished and lacks variety, they really hit gold here in a way that, in my opinion, they wouldn't replicate until Kick in 1987 and their final album, Switch, in 2005. Kick is the only one that I like better, and that's because Kick is definitely more polished and definitely has that variety that INXS is missing, combined with the sort of same energy and high flow speed that their debut excels at. I definitely think that Kick is kind of their magnum opus and is an almost perfect album, so it beats out their debut here. Additionally, this album, INXS, doesn't take my top spot from 1980 for similar reasons, as that stays with Billy Joel's Glass Houses, which is also an almost perfect album that beats out INXS with variety and polish. However, I will say that INXS is a top contender for this highly competitive year. 1980's got a lot of stuff in it, which is impressive even though they don't get there here. Debuts can only get you so far, even though it's definitely an incredible one. Next up is a more underground artist, JJ Scheff, who I was asked to listen to by a friend. His first album is called Heady, and it released in 2018. At that time, he was calling himself Reaper, which is interesting. But I'll be reviewing that first and then going on to his more recent work. So stay tuned for that, and as always, stay minty.